Ukraine has been increasing strikes on Russian oil refineries as part of a wider strategy meant to disrupt the energy industry, financing its war effort. Smoke billows into the sky there following the fourth Ukrainian strike on refineries in recent weeks. The ramped-up attacks come as Canada has announced an increase of its own for Ukraine's war effort. This past week, Canada's federal government pledged $2.3 billion in training and support for Ukraine as part of the spring economic update. The funding push comes as the Prime Minister meets with European leaders in Armenia this morning to strengthen security ties and advance broader support for Ukraine. Ambassador Natalka Cmoc, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
I'm happy to be here with you.
I'm going to start, if I can, with this trip to Armenia that the Prime Minister is on. He's gone, obviously, to sort of deepen ties with European leaders as the only European nation invited to this kind of meeting. But it's my understanding he's also going to have a bilateral with President Zelensky, and there'll be a lot of talk about Ukraine. What is your understanding, or what do you think is going to come out of that meeting in terms of what Ukraine needs right now?
So first of all, I think it's a great sign that he was included. So I think it's a great opportunity to continue speaking about Ukraine. I know that Europeans are definitely really coordinating themselves in terms of that sort of transatlantic security. So having Canada there, for us, it's very important. And yeah, I'll just stop there for now.
Yeah. The EU defense minister has renewed a pitch for this idea of a European defense union, which would not include the United States. What does that tell you about the state of NATO? What are the concerns in Ukraine about the need for some sort of European defense mechanism to help?
Well, I think the first thing is that Canada is the first non-European country that's joined the European Security Action for Europe, which is significant. Basically, it unlocks lots of billions of dollars for and gives Canada access to markets in terms of defense, which is very significant. So you're seeing a lot more coordination. That Canada signed a joint production with Ukraine. So we are getting ourselves very much into the defense military industry that involves Ukraine and it involves Europe. And Ukraine has proven itself to be quite a leader in military tech. So this is good for Ukraine, this is good for Europe, this is good for Canada.
Is it your understanding, though, that this European group that people are talking about would be sort of to protect Europe and Ukraine from, the possibility that the United States is not as focused on what's happening in Ukraine and its war against Russia?
So I wouldn't put it that way. I think that Europe is just very much in tune with the fact that it needs to have a very coordinated and Europe-focused defense of its territories and its interests of democracy, its economy. So I've only heard it in those terms.
I want to ask you about some additional money that was announced by the Prime Minister in the spring economic update last week, $2.3 billion in training and support for Ukraine. What's your understanding of what that training and support could look like?
I assume you're talking about the Op Unifier? Yes,
exactly, yeah.
Okay, so, as you know, we've been supporting Op Unifier since 2015. So we, since the inception, have actually trained now over 47,000. I think that's good. It continues to evolve. It continues to grow. And we are very responsive to what Ukraine needs, along with our other allies in Europe. So I think it's a very good thing. And Ukraine very much appreciates it.
Ukraine has been ramping up attacks on Russian oil refineries again today, 4 strikes in the past couple of weeks. President Zelensky has said that Ukraine's allies have urged him to scale back those attacks amid, obviously, the global fuel crisis and what's happening in Iran. What is Canada's position on that?
So Canada believes that Ukraine has a right to defend itself, its sovereignty and its integrity. So I think that Ukraine needs to do what it needs to do. We've seen that Russia has maintained very much a maximalist position. It is stalled in terms of its peace negotiation participation. Ukraine has been very active in being able and very open about continuing those negotiations. So I think Ukraine has done what it can. But also, let's not forget, I'm somebody who lives here, and I tell you that Russia has not stopped its strikes on civilians here, and I see it and I live it. So it is very much real. So a few weeks ago, a maternity hospital was again hit. So, Russia is maintaining its strikes on Ukraine.
Is there, you talked about peace negotiations. There does seem to be a sense in the United States that the president has obviously turned away from this issue and is focused mostly on the Middle East, although I know that he spoke to President Putin in the past week or so. What are you hearing about how realistic a peace negotiation or some sort of ceasefire is at this stage, given that the United States doesn't seem to be pushing for that to happen right now?
So I know everyone's really appreciated the United States and the role that they've played in bringing Russia and Ukraine to the table, including Ukrainians. Every conversation leads to further development. And of course, we can't forget that this war has been ongoing now for 12 years. So it's not going to be resolved in a couple of discussions. So I do think that progress was made. I do think that we see a very important outcome, and it's that return of, every time they meet, there's another exchange of prisoners of war. And I know that there's nothing more important than the human dimension for Ukrainians here. So we are still seeing progress in that respect. I do hope, and I think Ukrainians hope, that negotiation will be launched again and very soon. But it's hard to tell when the next meeting will. I don't know if the next meeting has been planned at this point.
Ambassador Cmoc, thank you for making the time for us this morning. Appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.